Good morning. I'm Peggy Cook with the Pioneer Library System. I'm a regional coordinator and branch manager, and it's my pleasure to be working with the lawyers in the library program. Today, we have an awesome presentation with really up-to-date and important information for people seeking COVID relief for housing issues in 2021. Rochette Wurth is our presenter today. She's an expert in eviction and foreclosure defense, reinstatement and retention of federal housing benefits, and fair housing and discrimination cases. And she's a longtime employee of Legal Aid Services of Oklahoma. Rochette received her BS in chemistry and biochemistry and her JD from the University of Oklahoma. She joins us today with an awesome presentation that she's created with her knowledge and expertise. Thank you, Rochette, so much for being here with us today and for creating this presentation. We're really glad to hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me here to present. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and start providing a little bit of information. Today I'll be presenting information, COVID-related information regarding eviction and foreclosures. Before we begin, there's a couple of things that I'd like to bring your attention to. First, during the pandemic, the rules and available resources are frequently changing. So what may be true today or available today may not necessarily be true or available when you're reviewing this presentation. Also, every case is different. If you have specific questions about your case, you should contact an attorney. This presentation is not meant to provide individual legal advice and does not form an attorney-client relationship. Also, the legal information provided in this video is specific to Oklahoma. If you live in another state or another area, your rules and procedures might be quite different. So to get started, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about the eviction process. An eviction is the process where a landlord removes a tenant legally from a rental unit because the tenant has either breached the lease or has refused to move out after the lease has expired. The first step in an eviction is for the landlord to provide the tenant with written notice of lease termination. Sometimes that's called notice to vacate, or it may be called a notice to pay or quit. If the notice should say why the landlord wants the tenant to leave and should also give the tenant the amount of time they have to vacate the property or act in some way. If the tenant doesn't act or vacate the property in the time required, the next step the landlord must take is to go to court and file a forcible entry and detainer. That's commonly called an eviction. This is a court case, and you will receive court paperwork, a summons, and information about the date and time of your hearing. The next step of the eviction is, in fact, the eviction hearing. This is really your opportunity to tell the judge why you should not be evicted. If you win, you return home and the case should be dismissed. If you lose, you still get to return home. However, the judge or the court will issue an order stating that you must vacate the property within 48 hours. And they might also say that you owe the landlord some money, even though you still have to move out. Again, you do not have to leave when your hearing is over. You can return home. You will have at least 48 hours after the hearing before you must vacate. If you're still there after the 48 hours, your landlord could go back to court and get what's called a writ of assistance. This is just a piece of paper that they give to the sheriff. Once the sheriff receives that notice, they will come out to the property to serve you with the writ, remove you from the property, and allow the landlord to change the locks. Now you'll notice I said you have at least 48 hours. I can't tell you exactly how much time you have because that is going to be dependent upon how quickly the landlord moves to get the writ, what the sheriff's schedule is like, whether they can send someone out immediately, and then also it depends on what county you live in. but at the bare minimum, you will have 48 hours. It is perfectly okay to stay until the sheriff arrives. During the pandemic, the most common reason for eviction has been non-payment of rent. In the previous slide, I told you that if you've not paid the rent, the landlord's first step to evict you would be to provide a written notice terminating the tenancy. In this case, it's going to be a notice to pay or quit. The reason for that notice is that you are behind on the rent, and the time that you have to cure the problem or fix the problem is 5 days from the date that you received the notice. If you can pay the full amount due within the 5 days, the landlord should dismiss the case. If you can't pay the full amount, then you should try to work out an arrangement with your landlord. If you can set up a payment plan that allows you to stay, then you should get that in writing, signed by your landlord. Now, also on the previous slide, I said that you don't have to move as soon as you receive the written notice. You don't have to move after your eviction hearing, even if you've lost. You can wait until the sheriff shows up. And until that time, the landlord is prevented from doing things to try to force you from your home. The landlord cannot change the locks. The landlord can't shut off utilities or refuse to make essential and necessary repairs. They also can't demand fees and costs that either you have not agreed to pay or that the court hasn't ordered. If you're unable to pay the full amount and you can't reach an agreement with your landlord, then the CDC Eviction Moratorium may provide some protections. The CDC Eviction Moratorium says that covered people cannot be evicted for non-payment of rent until after the moratorium ends. Currently, the moratorium is set to end on March 31st of this year, 2021, unless it is extended. Who's covered by this moratorium? Individuals who can meet 6 requirements. Those with income, if they're a single individual, under $99,000, or a family or couple that earn less than $198,000 per year. They must also have sustained a substantial loss of income or incurred extraordinary medical expenses. And those things have to have happened after March 1st of last year, 2020. They must be unable to pay the full rent, but they're making partial payments where they can, given the amount of money they have and the other necessities they must provide. They must apply for rental assistance. And finally, if they are evicted, they must show that they will have to live with someone else or they will become homeless. If they can meet all of these requirements, then to get the protections of the moratorium, they must sign and give to their landlord a CDC declaration. You can find a copy of this form on Legal Aid's website, and I'll provide a link to that at the end of this presentation. Oh, let me back up just a minute. You'll see there that the CDC moratorium does not prevent foreclosures. It does not prevent evictions for reasons other than non-payment of rent. Your rent will still accrue and you will become due. And the landlord may still file to evict. So it's important that once you give the landlord the declaration, you keep a copy for yourself. In the case that they file, you can take it to court and show the judge that you believe you're a covered person. There may be some protections from evictions that's been provided by the CARES Act. Most of the protections have expired. However, there is still a protection if you can meet the following criteria. 1, you are being evicted for non-payment of rent or late fees. You live in a building that has 5 or more units. The building was purchased using a federally backed mortgage, and there's a list of those there. Finally, the owner must be receiving mortgage forbearance relief, meaning that they're having trouble paying the mortgage on this property, and they've reached out to their lender for assistance. If that's true, then during the forbearance period, the landlord cannot charge rent, penalty, interest. The landlord cannot evict. And once their forbearance period ends, they still have to give you a 30-day notice, as opposed to the 5-day notice that is normally required. The CARES Act did provide some foreclosure protections for homeowners as well. A homeowner with a federally backed mortgage meaning Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, VA, USDA, or FHA. If they are having financial hardship and can't pay their mortgage, they may request a forbearance. Now, a forbearance doesn't stop you owing it. It doesn't wipe away those mortgage payments, but it means that you don't have to make the payments and they will not move to evict you at that time. It's important that you don't wait. If you have mail that's related to your mortgage, you should open it immediately. It may be telling you that you are about to be foreclosed upon. It may also be giving you important information about programs that are available to help you avoid foreclosure. Also, don't wait to contact your mortgage servicer. That's going to be the company that you pay your mortgage payment to. You can request a forbearance. If you're already in a forbearance, you can request an extension. If you've exhausted all extensions, you should ask for other loss mitigation options. These are programs and ways that you can get assistance from your lender to avoid foreclosure, and they are not necessarily COVID related. And all of these programs may also be available even if you have a conventional mortgage and not a federally backed mortgage. So it's important, no matter the type of mortgage you have, open your mail and contact your servicer to see what help is available. If you can't work it out yourself and you still need assistance or information, you might reach out to legal aid to see if they can assist. There are also resources available in the community. Legal aid is partnered with Community Cares Partners. They provide rental and utility assistance throughout the state, no matter where you are. I've provided their website on this slide, and if you go there, you'll see their eligibility requirements as well as an application that you can start the process. You can find rent and mortgage assistance at your local community action agency. I've provided the website to Central Oklahoma Community Action, but if you are in a different service area, that website will also connect you to your community action agency. Once you get there, you can see their criteria for assistance and also apply. Also, the City of Norman has rental assistance for its residents. The link to their assistance and eligibility requirements has been provided. And finally, no matter where you are in the state, 211 is available to provide information about assistance that may be in your area, other resources that I don't know about or haven't mentioned in this presentation. If you feel like you need help with an eviction or a foreclosure, you can apply for assistance through legal aid. The number and web address is there, and you can apply at either location. Also, earlier when I mentioned the CDC declaration, you can find a copy of that form at that web address. I hope you find this information helpful, and I'd like to thank Pioneer Library Systems for working with legal aid to bring this presentation to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochette. It's really important information and could really benefit people in need. So we hope that people view this, share it with friends or family members that they know it might help. And remember, you can also have access to free public computers at any of your Pioneer Library System branches, and staff there will be glad to help you connect with legal aid services on the website and find some of those forms too. So thank you so much. We appreciate you and all the work that you do in Oklahoma. Have a great day.
Thank you.